in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And our today's topic is not only current, very relevant and very hot. And the topic is petrol prices. The monk who sold his Ferrari knew about the petrol price hike. The way petrol prices are increasing, it shall eventually be cheaper to just hire people to push your car. In Asia, the most expensive petrol is sold in India. In compared to India, petrol is cheaper in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. Amongst all these countries, the cheapest petrol is sold in Bhutan. Petrol price in Bhopal on June 28, 2021, Bhopal is in Madhya Pradesh, was rupees 106.77. As per Indian currency, neighboring Pakistan petrol price is rupees 51.14 rupees, whereas in Sri Lanka the petrol price is rupees 60.26. In Bangladesh, petrol price is rupees 76.41. In Nepal, it is rupees 68.98. Whereas in Bhutan, the petrol price is cheapest at rupees 49.56, less than 50% what in India we are paying. Ahead of a meeting of oil producers cartel OPEC, India yesterday said the current prices are very challenging and rates a little bit sober, lest they impact a consumption-led recovery of the global economy. Oil Minister Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, who last week again urged OPEC to phase out its production cuts, said India is a price-sensitive market and it will buy oil wherever it gets competitive rates. The rebound in international oil prices from lows hit last month on the back of demand recovery has led to a spike in petrol and diesel retail prices in India. Fuel rates are at record highs across the country and petrol has crossed rupees 100 a liter mark in about a dozen states and union territories, while diesel is being sold at over rupees 100 a liter in Rajasthan and today's price is a very challenging one. Mr. Pradhan said at BNEF summit, I am pursuing my producer friends for a reasonable price of oil. He said he had a very good discussion with OPEC Secretary General Mohammad Barikando last week. OPEC meeting is supposed to be there in the next few days and I hope the price will be a little bit sober. That is our expectation, he said. OPEC, Russia and several other allies in a production accord are set to meet on July 1st, that is tomorrow, to decide on output quotas for August and possibly beyond. Expectations are high that the alliance may agree to raise production by 5 lakhs to 7 lakhs barrels per day, short of the expected deficit between global oil demand and supply. International oil prices have risen past $75 per barrel in recent days, highest since April 2019, on consumption recovery as well as supplies being short of demand. High oil prices are adding to inflationary pressures. Inflation is a challenge to growth. Mr. Pradhan has many times called on OPEC to price oil at reasonable levels that support growth and stop propping up oil prices with its output cuts. In March, tensions escalated when Saudi Arabia's Energy Minister Prince Abdul Aziz bin Salman responded to Mr. Pradhan's repeated plea by saying India should tap into its reserves of crude that it bought cheaply in 2020 during the market crash. Days later, Mr. Pradhan termed the statement as an undiplomatic response from a friendly nation. Thereafter, his ministry asked refiners to look at sources outside of the Middle East for buying oil. India is the world's third largest consumer of crude oil, and OPEC nations such as Saudi Arabia have traditionally been its principal oil source. But OPEC and its allies called OPEC, ignoring its call for ease supply curbs, had led to the world's third biggest oil importer tap newer sources to diversify its crude oil imports. As a result, OPEC's share in India's oil imports have dropped to about 60% in May from 74% in the previous month. Speaking to news agency ANI, Union Petroleum Minister Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan laid out reasons for the recent hikes in prices of petrol and diesel and highlighted Congress' responsibility for the same. There has been a jump in crude oil prices in the international market. One of the main reasons behind the rise in fuel prices in India is that we have to import 80% of the oil we consume, he said. Economists have raised a point that Congress had left oil bonds worth crores for repayment, due to which we have to now pay both its interest and its principal price. This is also a big reason for the rise in fuel prices, he said. Central government's tax collection on petrol and diesel have jumped over 300% in the last 6 years as excise duty on the two fuels was hiked. The central government collected rupees 29,279 crore from excise duty on petrol and rupees 42,881 crore on diesel in 2014-15, the first year of the office of the Modi government. The collections on petrol and diesel rose to rupees 2.94 lakhs crores in the first 10 months of the current fiscal, that is 2020-2021. According to information furnished by Minister of State Mr. Anurag Singh Thakur in a written reply to a question in the Lok Sabha. Together with excise duty on natural gas, the central government in 2014-15 collected rupees 74,158 crore, which has gone up to rupees 2.95 lakhs crores in April 2020 to January 2021 period. He said taxes collected on petrol, diesel and natural gas as a percentage of total revenue have gone up from 5.4% in 2014-15 to 12.2% this fiscal. Excise duty on petrol has been raised from rupees 9.48 per litre in 2014 to rupees 32.90 a litre now, while the same on diesel has gone up from rupees 3.56 a litre to rupees 31.80 a litre. Taxes make up for 60% of the present retail price of petrol. Excise duty makes up for 36% of the retail prices. Now, I would like to just give you a brief idea how the taxes, how much are the taxes. Now, this figure is as of 1st June 2021. The crude oil price on 1st June 2021 of the petrol was 32.39 per litre. Refinery processing and plus refinery margins plus OMC margin plus freight cost plus logistics, rupees 3.6 per litre. Fuel price after processing ready to send to petrol pump, rupees total is 35.99 per litre. Central government taxes and dealer commission, additional excise duty plus red cess as charged by the central government is 32.9 per litre on petrol. Commission to petrol pump dealers are rupees 3.79 per litre. Fuel cost before VAT. So cost as on 1st June 2021 before the VAT, which is applicable on this, that is 70, then the total is 72.68 per litre. And as per the VAT, additional 30% on petrol, which comes, it works out to be 21.81 per litre on petrol. So retail price as on 1st June 2021 in Delhi is 94.49 per litre. So you can understand, viewers, that how much is the crude oil price and how much we are paying for the taxes and the processing charges as well as the dealer's commission. Now for the diesel, the calculation is the crude oil is 32.39 per litre, the same price as of the petrol crude. Then the refinery processing plus refinery margin plus OMC margin plus freight cost logistics is rupees 6.1 per litre. This is quite higher than the petrol. So one can understand the diesel processing, it requires more it's more expensive than the petrol processing. Fuel price after processing ready to send to petrol pump for the diesel is 38.49 per liter, comparing for petrol it was 35.99. Now, additional excise duty plus road cess as charged by central government is 31.8 per liter on diesel. Commission to petrol pump dealers is 2.59 per liter, while for petrol they were getting 3.79. Now, cost as on 1st June 2021 of fuel before VAT, that is of diesel, is 72.88, which is more than the petrol price, which is 72.68. Now, additional VAT. Now, VAT on petrol is 30%, while on diesel is 16.75%. This I am talking of Delhi. The VATs might be charging different by the different states. So the VAT in Delhi on diesel is 16.75%. So it works out to be 12.5 rupees per liter on diesel, while on petrol it was 21.81 per liter. So final price as on 1st June 2021 in Delhi for diesel is 85.38 per liter. So one can understand the crude oil, the processing charges, the logistics, the dealer commission, then the excise and the road cess, plus the VAT. So the fuel price or the petrol prices are based on these calculations. Now, to discuss this very, very important point, because it is creating a problem for the public at large. We can't say about the government, because the government politicians or the bureaucrats, they have all the petrol they are getting from the government free of charge, while the public has to pay from their pocket. So we have to discuss why this is happening, why the prices are going up day by day, and what is the remedy or the solution. And we have a very expert panel on this who are going to discuss in our program and tell their views, expert views. So I would like to invite my first panelist. He is Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS is one-man expert commission on labor to prepare an action plan for the welfare and development of the workforce in the context of COVID-19. He is also the principal advisor, Government of India Heritage Project. He was former head of disaster management, Government of India, and Central Draft Relief Commissioner, Government of India. He was the Vice Chancellor of National Museum, University of Delhi. He has authored 40 books in English, Malayalam, and Hindi, including novels, short stories, and essays. 4 of his books have become bestsellers. 4 books on Vastu and architecture and 1 book on housing received prestigious Dasharjah International Book Fair Award. Dr. Bose is an housing expert, innovator, writer, orator, and visionary. The path-breaking institutions set up by him, such as Nirmiti Kendra, Building Center, District Tourism Council, and Habitat Alliance, have been replicated at the state, national, and global level. He was the head of the prestigious Supreme Court Committee on the Treasures of Sri Padmavaswamy Temple. Dr. Bose addressed United Nations General Assembly and specialized sessions 5 times on various international issues. Dr. Bose is a recipient of 31 national and international awards, including United Nations Global Best Practice Award. He also received prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship. Kerala government termed him Lord of Ideas. Former Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh called him inspired civil servant, and our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi called him Man of Ideas. Welcome, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, on our show. Dr. Bose, you are well aware about the price, fuel price, or the petrol price, or the diesel price, which is going up almost now on daily basis. And the public at large is suffering. And why they are suffering? It's not that they are using the petrol or diesel, because all the commodity, whether it's food or grocery, everything is increasing day by day because of the diesel price is going up, and hence because of the transportation, everything is costly. So now we would like to know from you the petrol prices, the reason why it is increasing, and what you think, what is the reason, and how the things can be settled in a proper way so the public at large will get some relief. Dr. On petrol price, views of Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. As we all know, petrol price has become the most important bone of contention between the governed and the governors. Day in and day out, we read about protests, agitations, anger, which is swelling in the minds of the people, and it is demonstrated on the streets. A tiger, tiger burning bright. It is petrol, petrol burning fright all over. First, we have to analyze the facts of the situation, then the fiction which is built around it, and also between fact and fiction, there is something fictitious. I think we should analyze it in all these three angles. What are the facts about petrol? All facts may not be present. All facts may not be pleasing also. But the fact about petrol is that there was a time in 2010 when, under the leadership of the great economic wizard, world-renowned economist, Dr. Manmohan Singh, India took a bold stand. To cite Manmohan Singh himself, he said the era of populist measures have to end. We should have a realistic approach to public finance, which should form a part of the much needed reforms in this country. Therefore, he decided to deregulate the price of fuel. Government henceforth will have no authority to regulate the prices. The price of petrol and other petrol products or fuel in general will be decided by the market forces. That was the approach which prompted the economist Manmohan Singh to deregulate the petrol prices in this country. But in practice, there is something called real politics. It's not economics, it's alone which governs politics. What does not make political sense does not make economic sense. And what does not make economic sense does not make political sense. This reality dawned on the UPM managers who told the petrol companies, you sell it at whatever price you want. You will incur losses. Those losses we will compensate by way of giving you the subsidy in the form of oil bonds. This oil bond is a treacherous instrument. Actually, the petrol price, they were deregulated, was artificially regulated by the center. They offered the petrol companies, the laws which you make will be made good by Government of India. What does a petrol bond mean? It is nothing but government security. You can encash it when it matures with interest. That is what Mr. Goel said. That was a commitment on this country of 2 lakh crores of rupees. 2 lakh crores of rupees was given as by way of oil bond. That is the bond amount plus the interest I am saying. What does it mean? After saying that we want to do away with populist measures and introducing deregulation, you are again regulating it on the slide through the oil bond, which means you are borrowing for the future. Yes, you are committing the future. 2 lakh crores of rupees was given back to win votes because the elections were approaching. But did they win the election? They did not win the election either. They lost the election. But this government, whichever government, had a liability of more than 2 lakh crores to be paid by way of petrol bond and its interest. Now, how is the price decided? The price does not rise or fall. The price should reasonably rise or fall with the rise or fall of the petrol prices in the international market. That is where the tax regime comes. Government of India now levies 32.9 or 32.8 rupees per liter of petrol. And state governments, some state governments charge more. For instance, Maharashtra charges 40%. That is ad valorem. I will come to the nuances of that. Of course, the World Bank expert Vinita is here, so I'm sure she will be explaining it in the clearer terms with her international exposure. See, when the basic price of petrol, which the petrol companies give, which as you said, 35 or 36 rupees, you add the 33 rupees levied by the government of India. That is the base price of petrol, base price. Government of India's tax is not ad valorem. Government of India's tax is fixed amount. That does not alter, as Shakespeare said, which does not alter when it alteration finds. That is about love. But here about petrol is so that is there. Government of India's tax does not alter when the international price rises or falls. That is constant. But the state's taxes are ad valorem. The moment the base price increase, automatically the state gets more tax. For instance, 40% is the tax rate levied by the Maharashtra government. If the base price is 50 rupees, they get 20 rupees. When the base price increases to 60, they get 24. 70, 28. 100 rupees means they get 50 rupees. This is what happens in the varying measures in the other states also. So central tax plus the state's tax. Then some states like Kerala have got 1% cess and 1% which they want to give to the new institution called GIFBI. All kinds of implied, unseen, hidden taxes are also levied. These are the taxes which increase the price of petrol. It is not international price alone. Now, why is it being done? There is a logic for that. This logic is the logic of public finance. This nation gets, the states and the center together, 4.5 lakh crores of rupees by way of tax. Which finance minister will say no to it? And this is easier to collect it. Collection is easy. The moment you and I fill the petrol and pay the money, government gets its taxes. Easy to collect. Income tax is difficult to collect, but this is easy to collect. When you have such a large kitty with you, the question is, why should you lose it? That is where political philosophy comes in. There is a choice which you have to make. I have this money with me. Why am I using this money? State government or central government? You are using this money for the benefit of the people who are below the poverty line. You are using this money for the welfare of women. You are using this money to feed the ordinary people for old age pension. You are using this money to give free kits. You are using this money to give food security. You are using this money to send money directly to the housewives in their Jan Dhan account. You are using this money to give 6,000 rupees a month to the Kisan under the Kisan Samman Pathadi, Samman Yojana. Now, the dry question is, should we transfer this money to the vehicle owners? It is roti, kapda or makan. When that is met, that you think of buying a vehicle, even a two-wheeler. So should the government use the money for the poor people, or should it transfer it to the vehicle owners? But there is something called political reality. See, logic is different, reason is different, but people have emotions. Public sentiment is there. This public sentiment is to be respected. Who gave powers to the central government or the state government or the officers or the MLAs or the MPs or the ministers to be dispensers of this destinies of this nation? We, the people of India. We, the people of India, give to ourselves this constitution. Everybody has got the right to rule this country because we, man on the street, has given you the power to be dispensers of this country. Therefore, when we feel hurt, you are not to arbitrate whether my hurt has logic or not. If I am hurt, it means the persons, the real owners of this land is hurt. We, the people of India. The first duty of the government is the people. The second duty of the government is the people. The third duty of the government is to the people. So therefore, it has got a side which is not logic or reason or financial propriety. People are hurt. Now the question, what do we do? Where there is a will, there is a way. We do not say that take away the entire, lift all the taxes. No, taxes are required, but tax should not become taxing. That is it. Tax should not become taxing. Now, what do we do now? There are ways and ways before us. Number one, both the governments, the central government and the state governments. See, there is a tendency of certain state governments to use government, central government as a whipping boy. No, both state government and central government, they are together ruling this country. This is a federal democracy. Cooperative federalism is there. Just as the central government is responsible, the state government is equally responsible for this. Therefore, they have to sit together. There are many ways. One, reduce the tax, number one. Number two, you can make differential pricing. That is what I would like to underline. Why do you give tax concession to those who own Benz or BMW? Why do you give tax concession to those families which have 5 cars in the garage? See, you give a smaller price to the two-wheelers. The two-wheelers are not rich, you know. They may have just crossed the poverty line. You cannot bracket them under the rich vehicle owners. Then the three-wheelers, the auto rickshaws, why not? Then the taxis. Then there is one neglected section of society which ran this country when we are under COVID, under pandemic. Who looked after this country? Who kept it above starvation? Who looked after their mental health? The housewives. The housewives, the kitchen cabinet ran this country. The kitchen cabinet is still running this country. India is proud of its housewives. Give some concession to the vehicles which is driven by the ladies, by the women. There, the concession should end. You need not give it to the government officers like me. Why do you give them? We are drawing salary, even pensioners and the businessmen. Why do we give this petrol reduction to them? Therefore, differential price is one formula. Now, practical aspects are there. But in digitized world, nothing is impossible. You link it with the Aadhaar card. When you fill petrol, you link it with the Aadhaar card. The system takes care of that. And also, you cannot have black marketing this, you know. We know how much is required for an auto rickshaw per month. Give only that. These are all practical issues which can be sorted out. India has got an excellent public administration system which can take care of this. And we do have differential rate of interest, DRI, in the banks. Bank does not charge the same for everybody. Agricultural lending, priority sector lending, still has differential rate of interest. Why not have a differential pricing system for petrol, giving the benefit only to the poor, the needy, the two-wheelers, the three-wheelers, the women, and also, of course, the taxis. Never ever give it to the house which has got 5 luxury cars with them. Then there's an easier way. An easier way which can be done, bring petrol tax under GST. Of course, now it is not under GST. Under GST, only maximum now is 28%. But I think people like Vinitha and Nasrat knows this better because they have been in the field. Maybe it is possible to have a special hike in the rate of petrol. That is something which the experts have to decide. Even if you give petrol at 70 rupees per liter, I think people will be happy. You don't have to give it at 48 rupees, which is possible. Which is possible. If you bring petrol under GST, that is possible. Then why it is not done? Why it is not done? The question that is asked on the streets and in the discussion groups like this on the TV, why the government of India is not implementing GST? No, government of India cannot implement GST. The GST Council is a constitutional body where government of India has only one vote. They don't have any dominance on that. 2/3 decision majority is required. Why not the states come together and say we want GST and GST will be there? And there is a set pattern of sharing GST between center and state. Now some states are saying we want to dispense off with GST itself. Therefore, where there is a will, there is a way. There are two sets of people who represent government. One is to find solutions to problems. Other is to find problems and solutions. I think political parties are doing that. They know very well it's a collective responsibility. The state and the center are both levying taxes. State, and one more thing, from the tax levied by the center, the entire thing is not kept by the center. 41% goes to the state, not that. I agree. Only excise duty. Excise duty is less. cess and surcharge is more. Cess and surcharge is not levied under the Finance Commission's formula of 41 pennies. Yes, but cess and surcharge, road and infrastructure cess, that will go for the purpose for which it is collected. That will be used for roads and infrastructure in India. States get the share. Therefore, even the cess and surcharges go to the state, not in cash, but in kind. If it goes in cash, the finance ministers can take it, retain it, and divert it for any purpose. This is not possible. Therefore, there is a way. There is a way for tackling this problem. What is required is a political will. If that political will is there, I am sure that within 24 hours, this problem can find its solution. There is no meaning in comparing with the price in the other countries. I don't come to that because that's not our main point. Within India, if we put our heads together, but we should be able to sacrifice something. We should be able to sacrifice what we are going to spend for the poor people. That is why the differential pricing is required. And protest should continue. I am not an expert in protest, but even about that, I'll say, after listening to our new panel members, Nasrat and Vinita, after that, if you give me a chance, I will give my further thoughts on it. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Mr. Goyal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, for giving your very, very forthright views. And I will just highlight few points which he has raised. First thing he says, the petrol prices have been deregulated from 2010. That's why the control of the government is not there on the papers. But we have seen, even although Dr. Bose has not mentioned, but we have seen during the election time in the Congress regime as well as in BJP regime, the petrol price were stabilized or go down, and then again it goes up as the election is over. Then he says about the oil bonds. He said the 2 lakhs liability was created by the Congress government before the election, so that that liability is there, and for the making the payment of the installments, principal amount and the interest. That's why it is also adding on the cost of the petrol. He also mentioned about the one more very, very important point is, he says the total collection for both the state and the center is about 4.5 lakhs crore. And he says nobody wants to leave that 4.5 lakhs crore. But he says the preference to be given, whether the person who is owning the vehicle or the poor, we have to differentiate the rates. If we can differentiate the rates, and he has given a very simple formula, which is a very, very practical formula, that car owners should be given a separate rate, the highest rate, there is no problem, but the 2-wheelers or the 3-wheelers or the taxis should be given a cheaper petrol or the diesel, or the gas, so that they will be. And even he said the cars driven by the housewives, because Dr. Bose always give his emphasize, and he always says in all our media conferences, whenever he get the chance for that housewives, and this is fact also, because of them, we all are alive today from the COVID, many of us, because they have given us the food, they have given us the mental health. And he has also mentioned that this rates, the cheaper petrol or diesel should not be given to any businessman, not to any government officers, but he has forgotten to take one more class, that is the politicians. Once a person has become politician, small or big, he should not be given on a cheaper rate. I think that should be included. One more point which he has mentioned, which everyone is talking about, the GST. It should come under the GST. But he says the GST, the central government alone can't go take it a decision, because it's a GST council, which is a constitution body, and the 2/3 majority is required to change any such type of thing. So he says all the states should also join hands, and then it can come under GST. But one more thing he has mentioned, that on the excise duty, the 41% whatsoever the center is collecting is going to the state. But he says from the levies on the cess, etc., they are not giving in cash, but in form of kind, because they are constructing the roads and creating the infrastructure, national highways. So the money is in turn benefiting the state only. So according to Dr. Bose, solutions are there, but political will is required. Who is going to have the political will? Let's see when we will go further in our discussion and our media conference. Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, for giving very, very forthright views. Now I am taking, although I was supposed to take Miss Vinita Hariharan, but Mr. PKD Nambiar has requested he has to go for another meeting. So if with the due permission of all of you, can I take him right now so that after completing his turn, he can go, Dr. Bose?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Because I don't want tomorrow that I will be also termed as a partiality for somebody which I don't want to be termed. So now I would like to invite and introduce our next guest, and he is Mr. PKD Nambiar. But one thing I will tell Mr. PKD Nambiar, this is the second time you are asking to have the priority. Please see to it, because I have to go as per my protocol. But anyway.
Sir, I am a young entrepreneur. I also have to survive. For my survival, I have to get into my work. The evenings are taken by the TV channel. So your shows are always in the morning. What to do?
Yes, that's why, because I do not want to compete with the national channels. They are huge, big. So Mr. PKD Nambiar is an entrepreneur, a marketing strategist, a columnist, and a well-known political analyst. Mr. PKD Nambiar is many in one and one in many. He is the, now this is a bit contradictory. If you are one in many, then so you can very well. Anyway, he is the MD and CEO of Flex Communications and reputed Marcom agency in India. He is the founder of Big Square Solutions, a software company. He is a prominent face on national television. He shares his point of view through various political and business debates on the leading news channels like NDTV India, Times Now, CNBC, CNN, News 18, NewsX, India News, Mojo Story, NDTV 24/7, to name a few. As a columnist, his articles and opinions are regularly featured in all major national and regional dailies. He is a powerful speaker and has addressed hundreds of socio-political, business, and motivational programs. Over the years, he has received numerous business and marketing excellence awards. Welcome, Mr. PKD Nambiar, on our show. Mr. PKD Nambiar, you have heard what Dr. C.V. Anand Bose has given his views, very, very strong views. We would like to know from you your views on petrol prices. Mr. PKD Nambiar, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goyal, once again for having me on the show. Firstly, I must say that you should always have Mr. Bose at the last. The reason being, once he speaks, after that, no panelist. I have always seen that nobody has anything further to add, because he's such a wonderful orator, and especially he is an encyclopedia of all information. So I think I always enjoyed listening to him. And thank you, sir. It's a great opportunity to share a program with you again. So I think the petrol prices is like a chicken and egg story. Today, I may not agree completely with Mr. Bose. I am a great sympathizer of this particular government. I'm a great fan of Mr. Modi, and I support this government every day in the evenings on primetime television channels. Even though multiple views are there in the petrol prices, people talk about the tax. Which country needs to have huge taxation? The times have come for us to realize that we need growth. The individual needs to grow. The society as we need to grow, as every state needs to grow. And so as our economy and as a nation, we need to grow. But is that the growth directly comes only from the tax? That may not be really right. Secondly, is it really just a taxation, or is it really more of like a tax terrorism? So I believe that, and in this, nobody, I mean, no governments, no politicians, or no bureaucrat, nobody is great in this. Everybody is equally responsible for having a century on a petroleum price, which is simply not acceptable. Now, who takes what, whether it is 33%, whether it is 40%, or overall it is a 60% tax, that is simply not acceptable. Now, the question is that whether it's a chicken and egg story. So governments need money for the infrastructure projects, for the welfare project, but in the same time, this same money needs to come from your own pocket. So your money is taken from you and given it to in a different form, in the form of a welfare. Here is, I think the high time has come for our political class, or even our economists. I mean, I would say even more than the political class, the economy, the so-called economists needs to come up that what are the other method of growth in this country. Do we really need to, is our systems are well oiled, well defined to reach out to the only people, those who are required to get these welfare measures, or the people whomsoever is getting the welfare measures are being open to everybody without even having any cap? So the challenge of petroleum prices are many. One says that it adds to an inflation. The other says that it adds to every kind of an inflation, not only the food prices. And on the other side, you also want the economic development needs to happen. That also comes from only the through these taxes. Now, I always say in multiple places, I said that there are two tax systems. There are two fuel economy in our country. Mr. Goyal, you will be surprised. Other than the petrol, there is another fuel economy. You know what is that fuel economy? The fuel economy is the liquor excise. In the evening, when you have a peg in the evening, you should be understanding that that is even more tax. So the revenue coming from all the state and the center is predominantly becoming more and more, or the state and the center is becoming more and more dependent on the fuel economy, whether it is a petrol or the human fuel, which a large number of people takes. Some states like Kerala or Punjab, they are heavily dependent on the excise duty which they collect, or the tax which they collect from the liquor. And they are, I mean, even in Delhi, for an example, the state government is quite bit dependent on the human fuel, not the vehicle fuel, the other fuel which I say that the liquor. In fact, during the COVID first wave, when the lockdown was over, the immediate thing what they opened is this all the liquor shop, which is governed, sold. I mean, the liquor is sold by the government in most of the states. So that overall, what we need to have a system. How can we reduce the tax burden on the people rather than taxing them more and more on a daily basis? You don't want it to be. We don't want infrastructure only on the pretext of that collecting money from you. So you are taxed in every places, whether it is or a toll tax, road tax, fuel tax. Then how many more taxes we need in India, or every individual in this country need to take the burden of tax? I believe whether we support this government, whether we support the cause, what they are doing, etc., 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 I believe that the tax system in this country needs an overhauling and complete overhauling, and we becoming as a government or government missionaries are becoming more and more only and only taxing more and more is the only revenue source, needs to have a second thought. On the contrary, because I am also contradicting myself, because we always have in the evening debates that a congressman is coming and saying that, or you see it in the social media, Arun Jaitley, Sushma Swaraj riding on a bullet cart in Delhi during the UPA regime, just protesting against the petrol prices, then the petroleum price rise. Now, there is a contradiction with that particular stuff. Is this simple? If you really look at the UPA 1 and 2 and this particular government, so I am again, as I said, that I will never ever support the kind of taxes which we are charging, at least in our country, but only comparing between the two, that is the UPA and the present government. This government is transferring each and every money to everybody's account. So in a way, the benefit of the tax collected is giving it to you directly in your hand. Secondly, in the UPA 1 and 2, the average road construction was less than 10 kilometers per day in the national highway. This time we have touched 37 kilometers per day road construction is happening the national highway, which is a world record in itself. So there is I mean, of course, we also know that both during the COVID 1 and the 2, the kind of economic loss the government has faced, and where will this deficit or this gap will be filled? Maybe by taxing. So I think every government, whether it is a state or the central government, needs to really work much more harder. And one of the main way of doing that would be the over dependability of us on the petroleum products that, of course, we know that 90% of that is imported. Rather than that, we need to look at different fuels which may reduce our importing the oil imports, helping us to reserve our the dollar or the foreign currency exchange. There is no other method. If you really go in this same level, we will never, politicians never wanted, because as Mr. Bose said, both the center and the state, they both don't wanted to have this to be in the GST. The moment you put that into the GST, which is maximum is 28%, so where will the rest of the deficit will be filled? So the question is that, is there any other method wherein the governments can get more money rather than taxing more and more to the people? So political will is the most important one, but more than that, I think we need economic solutions, which all the governments in India currently is lacking. The only way to generate more and more money is becoming taxing more and more to the people, may not be the right governance which we need to have. If we are not able to create a different method, so you have income tax, you have excise duty, you have, so how many more taxes? Despite the fact that large number of taxes have been demolished and put it into one tax, still I feel that I'm an entrepreneur, and I feel that the number of taxes which we are, or the compliance which we need to do in today's state, is simply not acceptable in the modern India or of 21st century. How many more compliances we need to do? Secondly, that differentiation. I also have one more point, Mr. Bose, that you were talking about the business people, or the people who earn more maybe should be given a different pricing. That may not be a right strategy of a 1.3 billion people. This is one of the area where we have actually failed us in the last 70 years, because most of the time these measures have been given. I mean, how do you ensure a housewife is getting it, or somebody or else? So we feel that I am always of an opinion of give jobs to the people, empower them with the money in the form of a job. Don't give them subsidy, don't give them freebies, and these freebies are the one which really kill our democracy. Give opportunity for corrupt practices. Rather than that, give them opportunities to get a decent job, give them a good education and a good healthcare facilities. If you do that, they don't mind paying an additional burden on taxes. And Indians generally are a people with a lot of pride. They don't want anything free unless and until they don't have the means to buy it. If they have the means to buy it, they will do it. I believe that tax terrorism is the word I use, which is not with any central government. It is with both the state and the centers must stop this tax terrorism. They should come up with another sources of generating revenues for them, for the development or for the welfare schemes, but not by taxing more and more to the people. Thank you, Mr. Goyal.
Thank you very much, Mr. PKD Nambiar, for giving your views. And Mr. PKD Nambiar says he is a strong supporter of Mr. Modi and the central government. But on this point, he is having a different views. And he says that there is enough tax, and he used the word in the end is the tax terrorism. And he says both the government, central and the state governments are using, and this is a tax terrorism, what they are doing. And they are taking out the money from the pocket of the common people and giving back in the name of, they are taking out from the pocket in the name of infrastructure development, and then they are giving back. Instead of that, they must give the jobs. They must create such type of things that everyone is getting money directly from the jobs with the dignity, and then they spend the money. And he has mentioned one point is about the liquor, although he pointed towards me that Mr. Goyal, when you are sitting in the evening, it's a personal comment, so I will not like to reply here. But one thing, yes, I agree with you. Why not tax more on liquor than the fuel, the petrol or the diesel? After all, and One more thing, although it's out of context, one more thing can be done. A good suggestion I want to give, because I know if a good suggestion will go to Dr. Bose, he always tried to pass it to the government, and many of our suggestions in this media conference has been adopted by the government. And the suggestion is the liquor shop should have a record only to give the liquor to those who have been vaccinated. Only those persons should be allowed to give the liquor, because liquor is giving above 18 in any case, or 21 or 25 years. So once now the vaccination, because there are lots of vaccine hesitancy or myths are there. If we will say you want to drink liquor, please have the vaccination. Anyway, that is a different topic, but I'm sure Dr. Bose can take care of that. But my point is, tax more on liquor, not on fuel. But what Mr. PK Dinavia says, he says that the problem with the government is, or even the economist is, that they are not coming out with this solution. They must come out with a solution and see to it that the tax should not increase. Otherwise, the way it is increasing, we have mentioned, the government has mentioned that one tax only, but now so many taxes. And being an entrepreneur himself, Mr. PK Dinavia says the compliance and paying the tax is a lots of hurdles. And he disagrees with Dr. Bose about the differential prices that businessmen will not get, or the housewife will get. So he says that it's practically more impossible in a population of 130 or 140 billion or million, 1.3
billion people.
Yes. So thank you very much, Mr. PK Dinavia, for your views. Now I would like to invite our guest, the next guest, and she is Miss Vinita Hariharan. Miss Vinita Hariharan is the Chief of Program, Ministry of MSME, Government of India. Miss Vinita has had an illustrious academic journey and an exemplary professional and public life. An alumnus of prestigious School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, she worked for a decade in leading private and public sectors of the country. At this juncture, driven by the aim of donning the hat of a decision maker from an implementer, she pursued her mid-career master's in public administration from the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore, on a scholarship from the Singapore government. This proved to be a game changer as she gained wide international perspective in the policy making. Post this, she has been with various multilateral and bilateral agencies with the Government of India, where she designed national policies and led the implementation of several flagship programs of Government of India in the domains of rural, urban, and livelihoods. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission, formulation of micro enterprises being some of the key flagship programs designed by her. She is currently with the Ministry of MSME as Chief of Programs, handling externally aided missions. Ms. Vinita is a public speaker and a thought leader in diverse issues of nation building. She is on the board of studies of leading global institutes and a mentor to social foundations that work towards empowering women and the girl child. Ms. Vinita was recently given the Women of Excellence Award from the Indian Achievers Forum for her outstanding contributions to the field despite all hurdles. Welcome, Ms. Vinita Hariharan on our show. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, you have heard what Dr. C.V. Anand Bose as well as what Mr. PK Dinavia has mentioned. Now, we would like to know from you your views on the petrol price. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Goyal. And I'm indeed honored to share this panel with Dr. C.V. Anand Bose and my other esteemed panelists, Mr. Nambiar and Nusrat. So indeed, the topic is extremely relevant and the burning topic of the day, as Sir just mentioned, Mr. Anand Bose. And the points mentioned by my earlier panelists have been so detailed, and I can reinforce, substantiate, and I would also supplement. So beginning with, I would like to break up this topic into several parts. One is the supply side at the international level, which is the international crude oil prices, which all of us have said in just now, that the crude oil prices have reached a record high of $70 a barrel, although we have seen days where it was $100 a barrel as well at one point in time. But the story begins from there. So there is definitely a cartelization by the OPEC countries, wherein they always try to control the prices at a certain level. Even if the demand goes down, they would cut the production costs, and they would cut the production and increase the prices of the basic crude oil. So that is one aspect. Apart from that, so that's also because of the pandemic-infused supply constraints that the oil companies also faced in the recent past, in the past 2 years. So there's supply side constraints, and there's a huge pent-up demand that has been released during the windows between lockdowns that we have across the globe, wherein there's a lot of demand for vaccine production, and there's a lot of supply chain requirement across the globe, and that's when the demand again increases. So this keeps happening, this fluctuation in prices by the OPEC countries. So that's one aspect. So to tackle that, to give a solution with the problem, you just juxtapose the problem and the solution simultaneously. In India, we have to really look at increasing our crude oil production. So like we have about 600 million tons of capacity for crude oil production, but we're only doing 30 million tons, whereas our consumer requirement is about 200 million tons. So therefore, we need to really ramp up our crude oil production, which the government of the day has been doing, has been going in the right direction by inviting robust public sector companies to participate in crude oil production. And it's not just the public sector entities that should be given the responsibility of the sole responsibility of crude oil exploration and production. So that has to be ramped up. And we can also think of perhaps taking an equity from international power production companies, wherein they also produce oil from our country. So that is one solution that's possible for crude oil, increasing the crude oil production. Apart from that, another way out is, of course, going in for renewable energy, which I think no government in the past has been so gung-ho and so proactive and so aggressive on increasing our energy basket towards renewable energy. And today we are one of the leading nations wherein our basket of our renewable energy component in the basket of energy sources is one of the highest, is almost 40%. And our renewable energy targets are also being increased in the Paris Agreement as well. We are going beyond the Paris Agreement commitments, and we're also looking at about 275 gigawatt or so, and we have about 136 gigawatt today. So the government of the day is going in the right direction in terms of emphasizing on the use of renewable energy. So that has to now come into the automobile sector, which the Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari ji has been also being very aggressive about electric vehicles. Never before in the past have we had such an emphasis on production of electric vehicles. So I think we need to ramp up that. We need to pace it up and bring in electric vehicles as quickly as possible. Now, looking at the entire structure, which Mr. Lal, you have also described the breakup of prices, and Anand Bose ji and our earlier speaker Nambiar ji has also mentioned about the breakup and the tax and the entire component of tax, which is a huge component definitely in the entire fuel price. So 32.39 per liter for the basic crude oil internationally, and coming down to almost 100 rupees per liter in states like Maharashtra. So that's the huge component which definitely we need to take cognizance of. So as Anand Bose ji just mentioned that, the ad valorem tax, which the states impose over and above the central excise duty, that is what actually, multiplies the price of petrol, so to speak, because the ad valorem is calculated on the price after including the excise duty. So excise duty remains the same across the country, but the ad valorem varies. In Maharashtra imposes about almost 40% in Mumbai and Thane, and varies between districts in Maharashtra itself. So that really inflates the petrol price. Whereas in other states, we also have an Andaman and Nicobar giving it such a low price. So people really wonder, is it adulterated petrol that's being given? No, it's not that. It's about the ad valorem tax that is being bridged into this whole costing. So I think that the solution to that is, of course, as we all recognize, it is getting into the GST regime, and it's constitutionally, permissible to get into GST. Petrol has to get into the GST regime, but it's just that because we are a cooperative federal structure and the government respects the sentiments of the states, that we are getting into dialogues with various stakeholders and trying to reach a consensus on bringing it into the GST regime. So that would be the immediate short-term answer to resolve the entire tax component structure, and to look at union excise duties. Of course, the excise duty is an important component of the revenue of the government of India, but not as much as the GST has contributed. So therefore, for the government, it's always better for the taxes to come under the GST regime for the government of India as well as for the end consumer, because he gets a benefit of almost a reduction of 45 rupees per liter if you come under the GST regime. So that is the immediate short-term answer. And I would also like to validate or agree with Anand Bose sir when he mentioned that you have a differentiated pricing, whereas while I would like to say that maybe we could think of providing a petrol subsidy like we did for the LPG gas cylinders, which was a huge success, the Ujjwala program. So perhaps the government of the day, if the GST continues to be a stalemate or a logjam, then we could perhaps consider giving petrol subsidies to a certain segment of the population. Like we all know, India lives in many centuries and many levels of poverty at the same time. We have a high Gini coefficient of 0.35, abject levels of poverty, but we also have super affluent rich people who are one of the richest in the globe. So therefore, why extend subsidies to all? Why extend the benefit of a lower tax to rich people? I completely agree with that philosophy. We are not yet a country where we can go beyond subsidies completely. Yes, I agree with Nambiarji when he said subsidy is a dead rent. It is a dead rent, but we need to have uniform levels of development to actually move beyond subsidies. So therefore, that's one. Those are the two short-run options that we have to address this immediate burning crisis that the country is facing. And states also have to increase their revenue base, not just look at easy money through taxing petrol and liquor. They also need to look at expanding their basket of revenue sources. There are many sources of revenue, and there's also a huge devolution of funds that the government of India is giving through various public sector programs, centrally sponsored and central sector programs. So the states need to utilize these public sector programs effectively in order to give benefit to their the people living in their to the end beneficiary. So the government, so the excise duty which the central government imposes, it's going into the revenue of the government, but almost more than 90% of the revenue of the government, the capital and the revenue expenditures, going towards public sector programs, centrally sponsored and central sector programs, which ultimately have to benefit the states, because there's nothing that the central government keeps for themselves, except of course establishment expenditure, which even states have that establishment expenditure. So therefore, they're tweaking the ad valorem tax, which is going to be contentious, but definitely getting into GST regime is the answer, plus subsidies and differentiated pricing. So that's the aspect of the taxing. The third aspect is about the mode of the kind of consumption of fuel that we have, the demand side. So in the demand side, we could have tweaking of public policies, like incentivize people to use public transport, like the metros and the railways. So you give incentives, perhaps also look at giving them salary incentives or a commission, extra pay hike. If you use a metro in a certain number of days a month, you would be given a bonus. So that's how you incentivize people to use public transport. And in public transport in our country, the biggest hurdle is the last mile connectivity. From the metro station, how does one commute to your office or to your workplace? So perhaps there we could look at giving eco-friendly vehicles, which already there are a lot of bicycle stands, yes, but also e-rickshaws and battery operated vehicles that take you from the last mile to take you from the metro station to your office space. So that's the second aspect. And the third aspect would be to actually provide incentives for work to home, not the work from home, but work to home. That is, promote this concept of having self-sustainable communities wherein your office is not too far away from your residence, and so that work to work concept is should be encouraged. And also transit-oriented development is something that can be looked at, which countries like Singapore have implemented it very successfully, wherein you have high dense development along the metro stations, contiguous with the metro stations. So you really can walk from the metro station to your residence or to your office. So that's the other aspect. And of course, improve bicycle tracks and encourage people to use bicycles and eco-friendly modes of transport. And another aspect that can be considered is also for government to provide subsidies for auto rickshaw drivers to become e-auto rickshaws, or perhaps give them battery operated auto rickshaws. So that's another aspect that can go a long way. These are small public policy things which can be done easily, but it will go a long way in providing a positive impact in this whole scenario. So I think that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for giving your views. And I would just highlight few of our views. She says that the crude price is high and India has to ramp up their own crude production. And she says there is lots of scope, and for which either we should get foreign equity, foreign companies, all the public sectors here or the private players, whosoever, that the government should see to it that the crude oil exploration can be done and the ramp up so that India is having a potential to ramp up their own crude oil production, which will be beneficial to reduce the rates. She also emphasized about the renewable energy, and she says this government is doing lots of work for the renewable energy, and she said that total basket of the energy, 40% is now the share of the renewable energy, which is highest in the world. And she says we are going beyond the Paris agreement or convention, and she says that is a very, very important point. She also emphasized on the electrical vehicles. The electric vehicles should be used for the mode of transport. He says whatsoever the collection is coming by the government, central government, it's basically used for the 90% of it's used for the state welfare. So state should understand, and state should remove. They should not on ad valorem charge the VAT. They either should waive off. Then only this thing can be reduced. She also mentioned about the one very important point. She says about walk to work. She says the residential colonies to be developed next to the metro stations. Although I differ, I will just mention one thing. I had a program on the noise pollution, and the ENT specialists, they says the condition in India is we are very close to the noise polluting places. And even there was a thing which I am sure you would have seen in other countries, no flights takes place in the night, whether in USA, UK, and other places. While in India, all the international flights are in the night, which is harming the health of everyone. So there is a contradiction, but she says we have no other option if we have to save the price. So the money and the health one has to see. So that are the points which she has mentioned, and she has mentioned more points also, but she is very clear that the prices can come down if states cooperate. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Ms. Nusrat Jahan EK. Ms. Nusrat is MBA in Aviation Security Management from Edith Cowan University, Australia. She also did diploma in airport management and international sales and marketing in aviation. She is the national vice president of the Republican Party of India, Athawale. She is the general of International Human Rights Commission. She is an eminent social activist and philanthropist hailing from Malabar, Kozhikode. A strong and efficient female leader with great social ethics, showed her commitment to society by her entry into the charity works in the flood crisis and aviation issues affecting Indians abroad. Her entry into politics was for the cause uplifting the needy and to give a helping hand to support the suffering lot among Indians here and abroad. The debut entry into politics was by contesting in the parliament election 2019, aiming at solving Pravasi issues and the minorities issues. An active and inspiring personality who is always there for the Indian abroad. A hardworking member of Malabar Development Forum and Save Karipur Forum. Is a person with strong background in the field of aviation and the 22 years of service in several aviation companies, knows well the crisis and the solutions of Pravasis from her contacts and connections to many, visited many Arab nations for solving and studying Pravasis issues and their problems. Welcome, Ms. Nusrat Jahan EK on our show. Ms. Nusrat Jahan, you have heard Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, Mr. P.K.D. Nambiar, as well as Ms. Vinita Hariharan. They have given their views, very, very clear views. Now, we would like to know from you, because you are you were in the Middle East and you know the Middle East people well, and the crisis today is because of the Middle East. So we would like to know from you your views on the petrol prices. Ms. Nusrat Jahan EK, please.
Thank you, Mr. Golji, and good morning to all of you. So I was hearing, I think all of the points everybody has mentioned very, very clearly. So, but the thing is what, I understand is the common people of India doesn't understand what is fuel, what is GST, what is excise duty. So the fuel horror, I think the fuel horror has created in India in last few years. But this was a long issue, I believe, because as I said, I'm from the aviation background. I can see that fuel increasing kill our Indian aviation history. See, when you take the history of aviation, why all the airlines which an Indian aviation had was dead, badly dead. It was all having only same reason, I can tell you. That was the fuel. See, the crude oil we get in the international market is very low, we know. So the economics already told, and all the guests here, I explained the splits of the taxes and the GSTs which was given. So in that way, so the empowerment of people. So this is the world which we can't even imagine. Last 2 years, we are getting the world of very, very bad and horror, and we don't know where to go. Like that, the people, especially the third world countries, cannot sustain in this level. So in that time, many of the people are losing work, no empowerment. What empowerment? See, the tourism industry complete have gone. Only that will be taking up only after years. We can only imagine if it goes like that. Even the airlines which closed just before the pandemic, so they don't have job. Again, this airlines which are sinking. So where does the fuel? So what we need, Ms. Vinita has said is, even I support to that, because we have to produce crude oil production in India. For that, we have to find a way. Along with the taxing, all this, what Anand Bose said, GST to come with the state government also know about the GST and work. See, now the whole India's firing and debating against Modi ji, because the fuel. See, that's why I was telling the earliest situation. All this India was with Congress. See, we got you were telling the breakup of how the Congress gave the fuel fields, how much we have to pay, India has to pay. So this all happened and many things have break. Nobody talks about that. So now only the thing is we have to come in this pandemic situation. As we say, I'm seeing a beautiful thing India has. Even Kerala has, no man is in hunger. Everybody is getting ration, See, in every house, everybody needs food and fuel now. See, without fuel in this 21st century, nobody can sit at home 24 hours. At least for 1 hour, he's out with his vehicle. So like that, 100 rupees he's spending for food means he want to spend 100 rupees for fuel also before. Now that is not enough. More than food he is spending for the fuel. So as Anand Bose said, so the subsidy, we can think about that. That also state government also have to look at, because as like the ration, how they both government look together in that ratio. Why don't we bring, why we want to make a fight for only for the fuel in India? See, certain things people take because there is no solution. I believe that there is no big solution unless we make our production, crude oil production in larger scale in India. Because in international level, as I said, I have heard about it. For example, I can tell you a story. See, when the Emirates airline comes to India, and go back. He is spending only few money. He can give good service and very good fare to the people of India. But Air India and SpiceJet cannot do that. SpiceJet is an what you call budget carrier. Did you ever seen a budget ticket in SpiceJet? It is higher than Air India's original fare. So why it is happening? He cannot run the aircraft. So he without the fuel, because the fuel increasing, he is taking fuel from Indian airport. So he's paying the GST, what, everything. If he takes from Kerala, one airport authority of India's airport and private airport, for example, like Cochin or Kannur, he's paying 21%. We were fighting for that to the Kerala government once, you know. See, 1% they give to the private airport and airport authority of India's airport, which is coming. We are paying higher for the airlines. So what he does, the 3 hours difference by road itself, that journey, that airport's getting lower prices than the other airports. So the airline charges, obviously for Dubai, he will high 3,000 or 4,000 more than the actual fare from the private airport. So this is happening. So this type of thing, people suffer from various sides of the India and nobody discuss. When the media comes, they come against only, they talk about fascism and Modi ji, and what is the actual fact. The media also should be able to tell, especially in Kerala's view. I can understand everything against, whatever good also they tell against. Whatever we get from central government, they are not telling. As per Binida said, there are a lot of things which is central government has implemented in India. But who knows in Kerala? See, as people like us, we will come and tell this to them, and there is no one to execute it. So that the ruling government have to make special panels, delegates to do it to the interior places, because anyway, everything is happening like this. I said no food and medicine, nobody has a complaint now actually. Really, I don't see that. For the bluffing thing, they tell that didn't get, this didn't get and all in the pandemic situation. But nobody has a problem on it. So like that in this also, because it's an essential thing. Also in the essential vehicles, we can give subsidy, just like Anand Bose said, for the women. So women is the people who suffer everything in any natural calamity or man-made calamity. Women is the people, women and children suffer all this. So we can go, we can give that, we can think of it. But I don't think the old men in India will have that. So
Okay.
I don't want to make it a big issue on that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Miss. Yes, you want to make any other
Yes.
point? Yes.
No,
Okay.
that's only. That's
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Electric vehicle also I support.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you very much. So what Ms. Nusrat Khan basically says about that we must ramp up the food production as well as the, but one point she made about the tourism. Yesterday only the Switzerland has opened for Indians because the maximum tourist in Switzerland is from India, and they have said only if you have taken the vaccine, you are allowed. There is no problem. So India should also now think to open those states which are under control, like Goa or even Kerala, or wherever the tourism can be increased. Thank you very much. Now I would like to go for the question. My question goes to Dr. C.V. Anand Bose first. Dr. Bose, are you there? We can't see you. Yes, yeah, you are there. Dr. Bose, you have mentioned about the GST. I would like to have some figure just to, and then please update me if I am wrong. As per the Constitution Amendment 101, Act 2016, in case of a voting, every decision of the GST Council has to be taken by majority of not less than 3/4 of the weighted votes of the members present. The vote of the central government has a weightage of 1/3 of the total vote cast, and the votes of all the state governments taken together have a weightage of 2/3 of the total vote cast in that meeting. As of now, this figure I am giving of January 2020. Out of the total 30 states and UTs excluding J&K, 20 are ruled by the NDA. Now, when 1/3 vote is already there with the central government and 2/3 of the states' votes are also with the central government, why we are not going for a voting and take this thing in GST? Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, please.
I think I have answered the question impliedly in the earlier statement which I made. And it's basically a question of the finances, public finances. So every state, irrespective of political considerations, they would like to have as much money as possible from the tax so that they can pool it for development. So that is there. That is why people should also, the government should also give weightage to the public sentiment. The sentiment is different from logic. Logic determines that, okay, if you reduce your taxes, what happens? There's going to be fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit can lead to a lot of problems, which is not easily understood by the common man. But I do agree. That is a sentiment raised here also by all the panelists. Whatever it is, when there is a problem, whether it is genuine or perceived, there is a disturbance in the minds of the people about this increasing petrol price. So that sentiment has to be addressed not on the yardstick of public administration or fiscal propriety, but seeing it as a human problem. I do agree with that. No politics should be mixed with this. That is like our discussion. We try to mix petrol with alcohol. Never do that. Never mix politics with economics and human sentiments. Now, one more point. And I'm very thankful to the new panelists, that is Vinitha and Justin. They really gave a beautiful side of the picture, which we had not really understood. Now, coming to Nambiar, I wish he were here.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm very much here, sir.
You're here?
Yeah.
Okay. So because his voice is heard in various places at the national level. Now, apparently, yes, if everybody can be equipped, empowered, so that they can buy petrol at the same price without any difference, excellent. That's an excellent. But then, in this country, it is never equality that we are aiming at, but equitable. We want to be not equal, but equitable. That is why we have a differential treatment in everything. Even the sharing of resources under the Finance Commission, 41%, that is not given equally to all the states. That is equitable. There is a differential. Yes, Vinitha and others will know since they are in government. Always it is equitable. And as you rightly know, Nambiar knows it very well. He goes in depth into all these things. Even the state domestic product, the level of poverty, all these are factors which determine the sharing of resources with the center and the state. So it is never equal. It is equitable. And then we have the special component plan and the tribal sub-plan. It's not enough to say that scheduled castes and scheduled tribes can also get the benefits like others. But we find that wherever there is a weakness in certain sections of society, we give them special support. That is why this special component plan and the tribal sub-plan and there. And also, see, in Marxism, they say, from everyone according to his capacity to everyone according to his needs. So this cause of equitability is always there in public governance. That is why even in ancient India, Bahujan Hitaya, Bahujan Sukhaya, and the utilitarian said, greatest good of the greatest number. I wish we can have a situation where everybody can be equal. But so far as there is a lot of economic depravity and difference in the economic status of people, I think some kind of differential treatment may be required. But that does not say that giving equal price is not bad. Ultimately, I think the ultimate objective should be to give same price to everybody, ultimate objective. But there are certain crisis management and transition management. That is why this differential pricing system is done. Now, one more word about the political philosophy. The political philosophy has changed. Earlier, government was a police state, maintenance of law and order. Then government became a welfare state. Government takes care of all requirements of the old age pension, agricultural workers pension, widows pension, welfare state. Now, state is a partisan state. See, when there is a conflict with the capital and labor, government cannot be equal to all. That is partisan. Government supports the labor. When there is a conflict between the rich and the poor, government supports the poor. Therefore, I think when we bring in political philosophy also, equitability perhaps is the answer, not equality. But in the case of specific issue which Mr. Nambiar said, he has a valid point. He has a valid point, yes. Why go to the rigmarole of differential pricing? If everybody can afford to buy the petrol at the same price, if it is kept at a reasonable level, I agree with him. And also when he said about tax terrorism, I myself feel that, that all kinds of tax that we pay That's when I said, tax should not be taxing. So I think Mr. Goyal has been able to stimulate a lot of thinking on this burning issue of petrol. Now that the discussion itself has become burning, let us douse it. I think the best way to douse the fire of petrol is the GST. The best way to douse the fire of petrol is, Nambiar said, equal price plus affordable tax. There are many ways of doing that. And thank you very much for enlightening me. For me, it has been a learning experience. Thank you for the panelists, particularly the new panelists, and also thank you, Goyal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose. Paucity of time, 30 seconds answer. Mr. PKD Nambiar, first to you. You are always on the national TV and supporting the BJP. Everybody knows. Why not the BJP states waive off all the VAT and let them reduce the rate? The advantage will be the nearby state people will go and buy the diesel and petrol from that state. They will earn more revenue. Ultimately, the welfare and the petrol pump owners will also earn the revenue. The advantage will be for the state. What you say? 30 seconds only.
It's a very simple answer, because states are very, this is one of the easiest tax a state can really take as on today.
Oh, okay.
It's very easy to collect. There is no much this thing. It's a retail. It is a retail tax collection, and nobody wanted to leave this money.
So basically, in the crime, everyone is same, whether BJP, Congress, and
everybody wanted to be a part of it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now my question goes to Ms. Vinita. Ms. Vinita, we are talking about electrical vehicles, etc. But I personally know of somebody who was a CEO and the MD of a company with a collaboration with a very big vehicle manufacturer from China for electrical. He has told me very categorically in India, no support from either the central government or the state government to the electric vehicle manufacturers or those for the users. In 30 seconds, do you agree this with or not?
No, I don't agree. I think it must be an isolated opinion, but we are definitely going proactive and aggressive towards electric car manufacturing. And by 2030, we are going to have a large percentage of our vehicles going to be electric driven. So we are getting there, but there's a lot of infrastructure support required in terms of charging stations, etc. So, but it's still nascent, but we are getting there.
But he says that taxation is there. Anyway, we will have
Mr. Goyal, I just wanted to have one quick point on that. So I'll tell you that the government is working really aggressive on the electric and the new word. But there is a huge amount of crisis. Today, we are talking about, we are almost 95% reliant on China, one country, for the lithium battery. And battery is the only primary source in an electric vehicle. And unless and until, the 90% of the lithium reserves are now in the control of China, I think government needs to really work differently. Changing just the fuel is not going to be the solution for a tax problem.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ms. Nujrat, my last question to you is, you are being the tourism industry. Don't you think that no proper incentives were given by the state government or the central government to this tourism industry, which was the first maximum hit in this pandemic? And unless tourism industry will not, because this is an industry which can bring the revenue far more than any other industry if it is run properly. What you say? 30 seconds only, time is short.
Okay, so it is not properly given to the tourism industry or aviation industry. That is sure. For the long years, we should make a very good studies on it and keep a good delegation team on aviation studies and tourism in India, I suggest. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. So today's viewers, you have seen the expert opinions, and they agree that its drastic change is required. But one common point which has come is very clear. Nobody wants to leave the easy money. Everybody wants to take the money, and that is the reason the price is going up. So please beware. You must try to convince everyone, especially the political class, please reduce this taxation, bring it in GST. If it will come in GST, it will be beneficial. The price will come almost 50%. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well as was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you everyday new topic. But for last more than 1.5 months, we are doing an evening program that is called Kal Aaj Aur Kal Lal Goyal Ke Sang at 4:30. It's a half-an-hour program for the achievers who have achieved in their life and their autobiography from their own mouth. And today's our chief guest is Wing Commander Arjit Ghosh, retired. He's a renowned columnist and author, former Ranji Trophy cricketer and coach from Bangalore. He's going to join and he will narrate his life story, which is very, very inspiring for youth especially. Thank you very much. So please do join today for Kal Aaj Aur Kal Lal Goyal Ke Sang at 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan. Thank you very much, Mr. P.K.D. Nambiar. And thank you very much, Ms. Nusrat Jahan, for joining and giving your views. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.